we sat with the PCT and we had programs that were supporting the 7 cardinal pillars of the EFF. Like for instance, in land, we had a program where we go to business people and we were asking seed and anything for basically for farming, so that we can use the space in our yards and gardens, because we cannot start by managing all the 83% of the land that we want without having basic small programs at our wards. So another thing also on the challenges that were raised on the political report is that the challenges that were raised at the political on the political report is that some of the members on our PCT, they do not know how to communicate the policies of the EFF. And I also have a concern that I'd like answers on. For instance, when it comes to the land question, as an EFF member, I believe that we must expropriate land without compensation. But then when you go to people, the problem is actually the strategy. Because the documents that we read, we saw that in countries like Venezuela, Zimbabwe, and many other countries were challenged greatly. And so I believe that the EFF must come not just with the resolution that we must expropriate land without compensation, but sort of a strategy or a 10-point plan, so that we can win more people. Because the people that are out there, they are scared. We might say that we are fearless, but the community, the people that we go to, they are scared and they are thinking that we're not approaching this thing intelligently.
Thank you very much. Number 5.
Thank you, Deputy President. My name is Fulatela Matela from Lejoli Putswa District in 134 Machabe Municipality. My DP, I'm interested in the women resources because it said it should be remembered that after the birth of the organization, it had no employees. So what I'm trying to say is this: can EFF please help us, the veterans, because in Free State, Samva and DMV, they are fighting one another. They don't help us as the veterans. Now,
can you help us, veterans of what, so that we have got a better context?
I am from Azalla, and even if at Azalla, MVA, they are scattered, you are not being helped anymore. So we want EFF to help us. Then that in the database in Pretoria, we can be helped in order for this organization on the issue of the security. We can be recognized then to help this organization if it can be. We want this assembly to help us.
That's fine. Comrades, I've identified female fighters here, but I don't see any in the microphones. The fighter there, and then those of you, the fighters, the female fighters that we have identified, can you please come to this microphone here? Let's go there, and then I didn't point at you, Chief. The fighter there, let's go.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. I would like to make an input. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Thelma Bushielo from Ward 24, Ekurhuleni Region, Gauteng Province. I would like to make recommendations and input about the government tax unit, page 139 in the organizational report. This sitting is the highest decision making. I would like to propose that we discuss and make recommendation about the organization deployment policy, because as things stand, we don't have a clear deployment policy for all three spheres of government. I want this sitting to discuss what qualities and requirements are we looking for our public representatives. And we feel that we don't, as branches and foot soldiers of the movement, we don't have a say about who represent us who represent us in government. Thank you very much.
That's fine. The fighters that are standing in the Gauteng mic, they are not pointed, all of them. They must sit down, led by the regional secretary of Johannesburg. The fighter here in the middle. Can you sit down, comrades, there?
Yufasi Rapelego from Capricorn region in Limpopo. My question is based on membership seeking clarity, because there's been a transition of the banks whereby previously our membership was paid in FNB, now it's paid to Standard Bank. I want to clarity in whether is the membership that was paid in FNB is valid. Thank you.
Thank you very much, fighter. The fighter here.
Thank you very much. My name is Charles Maila from Ward 9, Free State, sub-region of Fesile-Dabi in Metsimaholo. Our request from the new SG is that on page 103 about the province is stable and has potential for growth of the organization. So we have a crisis in Fesile-Dabi whereby the office of the region is closed for the past 14 months. The RS is not attending his daily duties. So request the intervention of the new SG in the office in Free State, Fesile-Dabi. Thank you very much.
That's fine, fighter here.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. I'd just like to engage the organization report on page 110, to be specific. Page 110, paragraph 2. It reads that it speaks of the KZN PDC. So it reads that between the first NPA and this NPA, the PDC has conceded 14 matters. Now, that wording is a bit misleading, Deputy President, because it gives an impression that from the previous 5 years, the PDC has only seen 14 matters, where else the PDC was only elected last year in November. So we propose a different wording. If maybe it could be worded as the last elected PDC, and you could put a date and then say it has only seen 14 matters. I think it will be also consistent on page 109 when you speak of the PCCC. You word it correctly that the last PCC was elected and there's a date and it states that they only met 17 times. Thank you.
The last fighter in this round is the fighter from Buffalo City.
Yes, thank you very much, Deputy President. I would like to welcome the new elected leadership. Mine will be based on
You must introduce yourself first.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Andile Faye, from Eastern Cape, a region, Buffalo City, a ward 5. Thank you. Mine, I will go to organizational report on number 13, where it states about deployment of a CCT on a election program towards 2019 election. Here, leadership, it's not clear. This is not indicated, in fact, here on this report on the 2019, how did we secure the votes of our people we were campaigning during the election time? It's not here, I don't see it. And I don't see the indication of guideline that did we use to go on the election 2019. Take example, there was in 2014, we were having a guideline, for instance. It was written, but this time around, we were even asking as branches the guidelines in black and white. We never even received those guidelines. Why I'm saying that? We have a thing we call branch election task team force. It's not indicated here these deployees, they were deployed in this province. Did they verify all these regions? Did they have this regional election task team force, branch election task team force? And I was having a question because they were saying that the PCT, they must change the PCT to becomes election task team force, which is in 2014. We're saying that the secretary is leading the election task team force, also the VD coordinators. So I want to be clear on these guidelines on 2019. Where were the guidelines of 2019? And that because of those guidelines were not clear on us. Some of the words we end up having no VD secure. We end up, even for instance, you go to a VD, you found there is no party agent. What makes that? It's just because we never have a consistent guideline that is going to guide us how to secure our votes. The majority of Eastern Cape, even in Buffalo City, some of the wards, there were no party agent because there was no clear guideline. We're asking in a region, even the region, they were saying they were waiting for a province. The deployees, they were nowhere to be found. So why I'm raising this thing is just because we are going to a local election government. We are here, we get this seat here because of our voters. Remember, comrades, it's not only the EFF members who are voting for EFF. We have 40 supporters who love the EFF. How are we going to secure our votes? That is my question on this election process.
Thank you very much.
Lastly, on the financial report, leadership, I'm sorry, it's the last one. On the financial report, the expenditure is there, but I'm having a problem. Where is a financial auditor? Because we're supposed to have a private auditor that is going to audit those finance. Even there is not state clear that what is the balance of the amount that we left it in the organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Comrades are going to then take response from the CCT members and are going to take a second round. The president is going to lead the responses, and CCT members that wants to provide responses to the questions will raise their hands, and then the officials will respond as well. Comrade President.
Thank you very much, Comrade Noltando Nolchungu, Fighter Umpile, Mautwe, and Mbwiseni Ndlozi are going to be presiding over the appeals that we received from those members who were expelled. They will go and meet and listen to, go through the appeals and then listen to our legal team as well. Then they will make a final decision and come and present it here at the plenary. The second thing is that we must never be excited. Don't be excited. You just stand up here and say, we don't want DOR, a product of a DOR. You come from disrupted conferences that were protected by DOR. You come here, you get excited. Must never be excited. For us to be here, those people of the DOR had to put their lives at risk. And that's how you thank them. You come here and tell us you don't want them. When they were beaten with stones in Tshwane, in Gauteng, and everywhere else, protecting the conferences of the EFF. We shouldn't have that type of an attitude. We must train them. We must make sure they've got the necessary skill to deal particularly with legitimate delegates. But when it comes to rascals and any agent provocateur, they must deal with it decisively without thinking twice. In protection of the red flag, the EFF. We are in crisis here. People attack our meetings all the time. People come disrupt our meetings all the time. And then you come here, no, go and call marshals to come and guard our meetings. The police are hostile to the EFF. They belong to the regime that is hostile to the EFF. In this conference here, police are at the gate. They say anything inside belongs to you. So we must just come inside here, and then some anarchists masquerade and find themselves inside this conference, and they start beating you up. We are helpless. We can't do anything. There's no security. There is marshal. You said you want marshals. You'll be running, following each other with marshals. So any organization that takes itself serious will have internal capacity to protect its own members, its own guests, and everyone else. If we were to call one of the security people here, they will tell you what we told them. We don't want to see any security guard pushing a journalist. We don't want to see any security guard pushing a journalist. You ask them nicely, and when they resist, you say, my sister, I'm doing my job. You are doing your job, I'm also doing my job. Have that conversation as you nicely, shift each other and all of that. We said to them, any delegate who's misbehaving, you don't beat up a delegate or start pushing a delegate. You rather isolate a delegate and take the delegate to a DOR room to understand what is the problem. Because where there are many people, you may not understand each other, and you may find that that delegate has got a genuine issue to raise. But because it's rowdy, you talk past each other. Ask the delegate to come into a quiet room, speak to those delegates. So, you are here and saying this conference is beautiful, it's running smooth. It's because of those security guys. Even chancers just see a security from a distance, they make a U-turn. Or no, today I'll be reggae. But once they see that there is no security and this thing is loose, like they did in the hotel where some of the Eastern Cape delegates were sleeping. Please let us not be excited or emotional. We are dealing with the issues of the DOR. In the rallies there, without DOR, I don't even think this leadership will have the capacity to go around the stadium greeting you. Without it, there's no marshal who can do that. I was a marshal myself. I know that. When Mandela came to Polokwane, I was very young, 13, 14, I was a marshal. They said we must do a human chain. When Mandela passed me, I left the human chain and touched Mandela and I went home. After that, I left. So there is a difference between marshals and security. If you are going to guard your events with marshals, you'll have yourself to blame. So please The incident of last night, I've apologized about it, and those comrades are receiving medical attention. These leaders you elected here, they are sitting now in front, including former leaders, SG and them. They were in the hospital with delegates until this morning at 6 o'clock. They stayed there, made sure every delegate is attended to. When they left at 6 o'clock, Mandisa of Free State went in with 3 at 8 o'clock. Because of the last night incident, they started experiencing some complications. So we have not abandoned you, and we have not instructed anyone to treat you like that. We will look after you until we deliver you at home safe. Your safety is our responsibility. We want you to be safe. We don't want you to be harassed by anyone, including security. General is the head. So when you say DOR are crazy people, they are following the head. I mean, if the head is sick, the whole body is going to be sick. So you want to heal the body, start with the sick head. You deal with that, then the body will come right. So let's not be emotional. We are very angry. I'm very angry myself. Last night when I received this news, I was very angry with what happened because I knew that the enemy agents are waiting for such a small incident. Then they will be on top of us. And you want to give them an opportunity to even be more on top of us. Don't allow the enemy to come in between you and people who have made this conference successful. Thank you very much. Mbuyiseni Nolchungo Umpile, please, let's meet at the backstage so we attend to these issues and bring the report back here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President. CCT members who want to respond to questions. Let's start with the TG, SG. You can sit down. Former TG first.
Thank you, DP. Questions were very quick, and they were all outlined in the Treasurer's report. So in terms of our auditors who raised that question, Section 146 in our, on the Treasurer's reports, I'm sure you got a copy, and if you didn't, you can grab one at the back, talks about who our auditors are. It gives their registration number, etc., and it also talks about all our accounts have been duly audited, etc. On the issue of our offices being mortgaged, that was also addressed from point 128 to 129 in the Treasurer's report on why we weren't able to mortgage our constituency offices. And as you can see, there's going to be constitutional amendments that will allow us to be able to access funding through the banks. At the moment, the previous officials had to sign as surety in their personal capacity just for us to be able to get the current headquarters. So that question has also been addressed in the Treasurer's report. And then membership, the question about membership being valid in the FNB account, yes, it is, but we discourage anybody from depositing any money into that account. And I think going forward from next month, if you go there, they're actually going to tell you that the account is closed. Thank you, DP.
Thank you very much. Where is Comrade Godrich? Because he's supposed to respond to majority of questions. So the membership that was paid into the FNB account is valid membership if it is still within the time period that has been dictated. I don't know what the fighter from Buffalo City is talking about. Because in the Eastern Cape, we had the Provincial Elections Task Force, which was composed of the conveners of the sub-regional elections task forces, in specific reference to Buffalo City, where broken down Buffalo City to King Williamstown, to East London, and to Duncan Village, and then to Mdantsane, where there were zonal conveners of the sub-regional election task forces. And underneath that were ward election coordinators who were responsible for the branch election task forces. And we gave an instruction that each and every VD must have a VD elections task force under a VD coordinator. And that is how the election machinery was run. And it had some degree of impact, particularly in Buffalo City and Nelson Mandela, because if you were to check the results from all the previous elections, we were able to increase numbers in Buffalo City and Nelson Mandela, and in some other parts of the municipalities in the Eastern Cape. That is how the election machinery was organized. So when you say you do not know how that was organized, it is strange, because we consistently were dealing with those issues in recurrent meetings in all the zones to take reports in terms of the issues that were being dealt with there. So let us allow the Secretary General of the First National People's Assembly to respond to the questions that relate to him. SG, First Lady Dabi office has not been functional for 14 months and you were deployed there.
Thank you, Deputy President, and good morning, beautiful and handsome delegates. We will try to answer the questions randomly. On page 109 of the organizational report, in 2014, with relatively no experience of running elections, out of almost 23,000 voting stations, EFF got 0 votes in 1,094 VDs. In 2016, it was a little bit worse by 15 VDs. Now, see the trend up to 2019 when we had the experience of having participated in 2 national elections. We improved by 710 voting stations. What it actually says is that come 2021 and 2024, it is likely that out of the 23,000 voting stations in South Africa, we are more likely not to get a 0 vote in any voting station more than ever before than now. Because you can see the trend. We improved by 700. The question is, what are the plans? The plans are the elections guidelines that we develop and refine from time to time, from elections to elections. When we went to the 3rd elections, 2019, we came up with the concept of voting district election task force. Something that we did not have in 2014, something we did not have in 2016. So it was an innovation in 2019. I'm certain come 2021 and 2024, there will be far more other innovations that we currently have. So the questions, what are the plans? I think we will, together, we will definitely come up with innovations to that regard. The question on why the issue of ABSA and our threat to march and occupy ABSA is not reported on the organizational report. The organizational report is an account of what we went to plenum and agreed on and what we implemented. Nothing more, nothing less. So to that regard, we cannot therefore report about an issue of ABSA which we did not implement and what could have been the reason. There's quite a lot of other plans that we did have, like the 24th of September, Heritage Day. It was one of the days that we hardly ever commemorated in the past 5 years of being in office. So is the issue of ABSA. On the issue of the co-option of more than 3 CCT members, what could have been the compelling reasons? I think the compelling reasons are found in the page where we speak about the Central Command team, how we lost almost 10 members of the CCT for several reasons and various reasons. And it couldn't be that we have 205 local municipalities, we've got 8 metros, we've got 44 districts. That comes to 257 municipalities. And we must run these municipalities with 34 people elected, plus 6, which is 40, minus 10, which is 24. It just had to happen, and we have nothing to hide, and we have reported as such. And that initiative to even go beyond 3 has actually produced the results that you see of improving from 1.1 million votes in 2014 to 1.2 million votes in 2016 to 1.8 million votes in 2019. Then you can tell that the co-option was proper because it was a replenishment of stock and adding more strength to the leadership to perform on the constitutional obligations and the revolutionary task we had committed ourselves to. Was not around on the issue of the 50% on public representatives, the MPs and the MPLs being excluded. I'm certain that the TG has dealt with that one. But what maybe the country, the media, and the members does not know is only a former deputy chair of IEC in our midst may know that the state does not assist with a single cent when it comes to the most expensive election process called local government elections. You go to local government elections, you will spend more than 200 million rand. You come back, there's not even a single compensation for even having taken over a municipality, for even being an opposition party in a municipality, for being for actually having a councillor in a municipality. However, on the national and provincial elections, no sooner than we have the IEC has announced results, within 2 to 3 weeks, in the bank, proportionate to the number of seats that the organization has received in the National Assembly, in the NCOP, in the provincial legislature. But that thing does not happen with local government elections. And we had to go to local government elections for the first time from a zero budget of 2014 to almost nothing to 2016, and we had to find innovative ways. And it can happen with the first generation of councillors, and it doesn't happen with those that are on replenishment. Any other amendments and suggestions have been noted, add this, remove this, we will definitely do so. However, provincial secretaries and chairpersons actually signed off every page of the organizational report on the state of provinces. But nonetheless, we take the criticism from the floor. On the issue of deployment policy to the 3 tiers of government, the local government, provincial and national, the legislatures, from time to time, the government task unit has always issued guidelines on elections processes, elections guidelines. who must be elected at branch level as a ward candidate, who must be elected in, what kind of a candidate should be a ward candidate, what kind of a candidate should be a PR candidate. We went to the list conference also with guidelines. I'm certain that if there are any shortcomings on the guidelines, every time we approach elections, the elections task team will improve on the guidelines on the deployment of candidates. We don't call it deployment police, we call it guidelines to selections of candidates. On the issue of FNB and Standard Bank, I'm not certain whether the TG has answered that question on membership. The membership account at FNB remains existing and operational. However, we encourage all branches to move with speed to use the Standard Bank account of the organization. I'm sure the incoming leadership will monitor the performance of that account and take a decision at a point in time whether it is still necessary or not. But every membership paid and with a proof of payment will remain valid. I'm not certain if there's any other question we have not attended to. It was a comment on membership cards and system. Thank you, TP.
Thank you very much, SG of the First National People's Assembly. Now, comrades, it's not true that the membership and structures of the EFF are not consulted on the selection of those that are deployed into councils, legislatures, and the national parliament. For 2016 local government elections, we called the list conference in Midrand. All structures were represented there. There was a process outlined in terms of who is going to be deployed to councils. And after that, we said that in terms of replacement of councils and councillors, those that received the highest votes at ward level are going to be the ones that replace whoever councillor is moving from the council. For purposes of 2019 elections, we had a list conference in Bloemfontein where representatives of regions and provinces voted for the membership of the EFF. Everyone else was allowed to be voted for, to be considered as a member of parliament. And we submitted that list as was to the IEC for purposes of elections. So there has always been a consultative process in terms of the deployment process. So there is a deployment practice that we had adopted, and then of course we accept that it should be coded so that there's clarity. Let's take the last round, comrades. We're going to take per province. We'll take 3 hands per each province. There it's Western Cape. The female fighter there. When we point at you, you must stand up and then come to the microphone. The 2 female fighters and the one at the back there. 3, Western Cape. Eastern Cape, the female fighter there, 1. 2, the provincial treasurer. And 3, the fighter at the back there. KwaZulu-Natal. We're coming that side, comrades. We're starting from this side. KwaZulu-Natal, number 1, yeah. I don't see any female fighter in KwaZulu-Natal who has raised the hand. 1. Can we have the female fighters only raising hands in KwaZulu-Natal? Females. So it's 1, it's 2, it's 3. KwaZulu-Natal. Which province is here? Free State. Is the fighter there? 1, 2, and then the fighter with the black top at the back at the end there. It's a female. No, if it's not a female, let's take the female fighter with a cap, with a blue cap. Lipompo, number 1. Number 2, the fighter with the black top. Female fighter with the black top. And then the fighter at the end there of the block number 3. Northwest. Can we have females only raising their hands? Can we have females only raising their hands in the Northwest? The last fighter at the end there, number 1. And all the fighters who have raised their hands are not female. I'm not going to point at you. The female fighter there, is that the provincial chairperson? Then the fighter with the black top there, and then the fighter with the beret and an overall, the number 3. Northern Cape. The fighter with the jean top there, number 1. And then the fighter with the other top there, number 2. And then female fighter from Northern Cape. We're going to take 2 only because there's no female fighter from the Northern Cape. Gauteng. The female fighter there with the blue jean-like top. And then the one who's standing up with a cap there, sporty too. And then the regional secretary of Johannesburg, number 3. Number 1, Eastern Cape.
Mandla, greeting fighters. I am Noludwe Fadana. I'm a chairperson of Ward 31 BCM. First of all, on the issue of the membership, I was going to propose if is it possible for when the membership is paid and processed, that the member should receive a confirmation, even if it's an SMS or something, because we are struggling with the members wanting their membership cards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, fighter. And fighters, let's remind each other that according to the guidelines and the rules that were adopted earlier, we said all of us are at liberty to speak in whatever language we're comfortable with. Okay. So let us take number 2.
No, number 2. On the organizational report, page 51, on the issue of public representative about buying bakkies, the organization needs to see to it that the representatives don't just buy those bakkies, but avail them to us. Because we are struggling, Tina, from the ground. The SNDC should also involve the branch levels when they have their hearings. Reason for me to say this, sithi thina bantu basezibranchini that are struggling, because you will find in the Eastern Cape that you have a branch that is 35 kilometers VD from the other, 35 kilometers. So we are struggling. We don't see those bakkies. Me, myself, I didn't even know the public representatives of the BCM. Thank you.
Number 2.
Thanks, DP. I'm not a female fighter, but I'm one of the people you recognized. My name is Mtutuzel Keza. I'm from Alfrenzo region in the Eastern Cape, Ward 8, Umzimvubu sub-region. Mine, I just want to comment on the organizational report. SG, let me start by saying I welcome the report, but I strongly believe that there is a part which you omitted. For instance, there is no part which deals with the accountability of the councillors. Let me just make an example. For instance, we all know that the core business or the core function of the councillors is to develop policies and also to submit motions. Now, we don't know whether our councillors are performing or not. For instance, if you go and talk to people who belong to other political parties, let's say you are discussing something about policies, they will say your councillors are failing. They never raised these issues. So I strongly believe that we need to put more emphasis on the issue of accountability, especially when it comes to councillors, to submit policies, motions, so that when we get a report like this, we can know how many motions that were submitted by the councillors of the Eastern Cape, how many policies that are supporting the local economic development that were submitted by them. Because if they don't do that, which means they are failing, it's not the responsibility of the officials to make policies. Their function, the responsibility of officials is to implement those policies. Thank you.
The last one from the Eastern Cape.
Thank you very much, DP. My name is Mcelile Khubela, the Provincial Treasurer of Eastern Cape. I want to speak first on the question of political education. I want to suggest that the organization must establish some level of permanency when it comes to political education, research, and yes, political education and research. I do understand that at the moment we operate through the commissar that is responsible for political education, which is not a permanent responsibility in the head office. And the SG's report has noted that that could have been made permanent, but there are issues, for instance, of staffing. The suggestion that I would like to make that in the interim, when the organization maybe does not have a financial capacity to run that directorate at the national office, we can make use of the researchers at the national parliament and at the provincial level. But the point I'm making is we need to establish some level of permanency in political education and research of the organization so that we can build our own internal capacity in grooming our own comrades. Two, we've spoken about co-option in the report. I want to make this suggestion, DP, for the organization to, I want to persuade the Congress for the organization to separate co-option and replacement. I will explain why. We have a situation, for instance, where fighters disruptively resign to force the organization to collapse at a regional level, for instance. The organization must be able at a regional level to replace. Say, for instance, we can have a maximum of 3 for replacement. In case of a resignation, in case of a death of an RCT member or any member at any structure, we call that the replacement. For co-option may not necessarily be occasioned by a vacancy. It remains a responsibility of that particular structure at a needs basis. When the organization needs a particular skill, it can co-opt, which may even cause the number of RCT, for instance, to be more than the prescribed number of the Constitution for as long as you need that special skill. That is co-option. So I want the organization to be able to separate the two and constitutionalize that so that we can deal with the question of replacement separately and deal with the question of co-option separately.
Thank you very much. We have heard that. KwaZulu-Natal, number 1. Only took 3 hands in the Eastern Cape group there, so we're done. KwaZulu-Natal.
Thank you very much, TP. My name is Vukani Ndlovu, Ward 11, North Central Sub-Region, eThekwini Region.
That's fine. Comrades, most of those issues, including the constitutional amendments, are still going to be discussed in the commissions. So we'll be able to consolidate most of those issues in the commissions when we break away after this process we're engaged in now. Let's continue.
DP, first of all, I want to welcome all 3 reports, more especially on the political report, the solidarity of the left forces is crucial. It's very important because in KZN, in eThekwini, more especially, on issues of the workers, I think if there is that unity of purpose of the left forces, more especially the working class organization, if we interact with them, it will be easy to deal with those issues of the workers. So I think that one is very important. 2, on the issue of international trips, I also want to second that it will assist a lot in terms of engaging those big economics. It's very important. The issue of the head of security, we second that, including in provinces and regions. We also want to make sure that at least they must have, on the issue of membership, have volunteers that will deal decisively with issues of membership, more especially on the membership cards. Because yes, the HQ is printing cards, but there are also issues of training that is needed because of the issues of duplications. And the organization must invest more in terms of having proper volunteers in those offices to deal with the issues of membership. We also want to second the issue of the political education. I think that one of the Eastern Cape I'm covered there. Thanks, DP.
Number 2.
Thank you, DP. My name is Sabelo Kobisa from King Kechwayo region, Umlalazi sub-region, Ward 20, Obanjeni. DP, ngayamukela onke reports. In particular, I would like to specifically deal with page 33 of the organizational report, 3.1.7. It is our submission that legal services must be made available to regions because the way it is currently, it seems as if it is only catering for the upper structure only. Branches at the regions, at the regional levels are not catered for. Our submission are that such desk must be made available to the ground forces down there as we are consolidating the ground toward the socialist power. Thank you.
Number 3.
Manda. My name is Brian Vuyani Nyawose from KZN, Mpumalanga region, chairperson of Ward 15. All the
what 15 where? Mngungundlovu is a region. Which sub-region?
Mngungundlovu.
But Mngungundlovu is a region. Is it Msunduzi or is it
Msunduzi.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Sorry. I'm thinking about, there's a lot in my mind, so I'm just thinking of what I'm going to say. Sorry, GP. GP, all of the reports talk to each other. And one of the main things that keeps on coming is one of the cardinal pillars of the EFF, which is land expropriation without compensation. But what I want to allude to is this: there are agricultural colleges. The president talked about separate exclusive forces, which include the student command team. So I would want to propose if the student command team could also infiltrate these agricultural colleges, because even the farmers are old and aging, Comrade President, and we've been separated from the land for too long. They even want money in terms of the land. So if you can engage these young people, infiltrate into these agricultural colleges, which have managers and principals with vision, without any vision, that will also assist us in terms of the strategy, in terms of getting this land, also involving the youth as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's take Limpopo, number 1.
Thank you, Deputy President. My name is Ms. Matodzi, coming from Wembe, Limpopo, on 138. Chairperson, delegate.
138, which sub-region?
In Tulamela.
Tulamela, okay.
Yeah. In organizational report, on number 7, organizational programs. I see here on 2015, the year of building the organization for the people. On 2016, our last hope for job and service delivery. On another page, public health. I want to say we appreciate what
Comrades, there are so many people there in that microphone where the fighter is speaking, and the only fighter who's appointed there is the fighter in the black top and the one who's there. The rest of you must sit down.
We want to talk about these 3 things. We want to say to the House, if this is the key points, let us make it not for the year, for every day, maybe 365, for our last hope for jobs and service delivery. Let us not forget, we are here to cover hunger and poverty. If we can get more jobs. If the House says so, we thank you.
Thank you very much. Comrades, there's sounds of fighters who are speaking and it's picking up on the system, so we must keep quiet and listen to those who are on the floor. Yes. Those who are standing next to microphones are talking and the microphones are picking up those conversations here. So you must keep quiet, comrades. More so those of you who are standing next to microphones. Number 2 there.
Dumelang. Ke nna Malebokgomo, ke tswa Lebokgomo Lepeleng Kumpi Ward 15, Capricorn District. On a financial report, on page 33, we are sitting on an amount of 1,087,584 that was not recovered back to the organization. So the report says they had challenges in some of these issues in terms of recovering this money, but a gona le mo ba bolelang gore gona le se ba se dirang gape to get the money back into the organization. Gape, the financial report talks more of the income which is from the funding, which I still need to understand that funding, do we still need to repay it with interest back to the bank? If like a funding le expense, I have like any other measures to improve our finances. gore re ska dependa mo di-fundings. Le gore now, how do we now, going forward, are we going to save the costs? And then on procurement, le boletse gore finance staff administrators ba volunteer to procure the buka tša mokgatlo, whatever that need to be procured. So ke propose gore go be le a policy ya procurement ye le gore e beiwa in place, so that go tle go be le di-accountabilities should we come across dilo tše tše re hlakane le tšona tše e leng gore batho ba pala ke go accounta for ditšhelete tše e leng gore ba di šomišitše ba sa swanela go di šomiša. And then go na le mo reporting go bolela ka gore there's audit fees. So I was expecting in this financial report that we get an audit report as well, since we're paying auditors for the audits. Thank you.
That's fine. The last fighter from Limpopo. Yes, you.
Asante sana to all of you, fellow firefighters.
Who is speaking now? I did not point you. Sit down. The fighter who's speaking is here. The Asante sana is not pointed. Let us listen to this fighter here.
All right. Thanks very much, Deputy President. Okay. No, thanks very much, Deputy President. I'd like to emphasize on the question of political education. Since the President yesterday, you have comment about the issue of political education.
Comrades, can you please listen to the speaker on the floor? You have not introduced yourself.
Okay. Well, my name is Philip Mtembi from Vembe region under Collins Chaban municipality from Ward 22. I'm getting a question on the question of political education. Since the President yesterday, he have touched a number of issues, especially when he raised the question that there is potential criminal. He give example like Robert Sobuk, that if this organization does not engage ideological, this organization is going to experience that particular problem. So I like to come with some suggestion or solution, because since our organization we have subscribed or we have been guided by the theory of Marxist-Leninist philosophy, which means we speak about three philosophers, which is Karl Marx, Lenin, and Franz Fanon. So which means under Karl Marx, we must come with a clear program that we need to educate our people. We can start from at national level, at provincial level. Specific, we focus, because if you speak about socialism, that we like to achieve socialism, it's very important that we must understand the Communist Manifesto that's written by Karl Marx. Marx has written a number of books, like he wrote like historical materialism, dialectical materialism, Das Kapital, which means even Lenin himself, he has studied this theory and he applied in his own country to achieve his socialism. Even Fidel Castro used the same material that I'm speaking about today. So which means we must come with a clear program to outline which part that we need, because we need to capacitate all our members to understand from national even to regional level and branch level. This is where maybe we'll be able to have a strong leadership that we like to believe as fighters. Like the secretary has put one of the law the law of transmuting from quantitative to qualitative changes, which means we can be increased in terms of numbers. But it's important to have a quality leadership, where, because all those laws, like law of the unit and opposite and striking, law of negation, all those laws need to be understood so that you'll be able to understand our situation. Like what Marx is saying in one of the Communist Manifesto, that all the workers of the world must be united in order to overthrow the capitalism. So by doing that, it's very important that we need to engage ourselves in that, because if you speak about political education...
Okay, you can say. Free State.
Dumelang, ka lebitso ke nna Thandekile Zenze, ho hlaha ho 23 le jwale putswa Matjhabeng. Ya ka haholoholo ke ne ke bua ka consolidating the ground towards socialist power. Sorry. Haholoholo ntho e ke llang ka yone ke mokgwa wa crime ena e leng hore e bakwa ke nyaope. Jwalo ka nna ke le tjena ke bua ka experience ya ka. Ke tswa prison, I'm an ex-offender ha ke eme mo. Ke dutse 12 years. Now, problem e kgolo ka relegation la Thabong kapa Velkom ke nyaope yena le ho hloka mesebetsi. Batjha ba bangata ka hara Velkom ba tsietsing. Now, ne ke kopa hore EFF e ka ba le di-program mohlomong tsa hore rona jwalo ka e le hore re na le tsebo e totobetseng ka ntho yena e bitswang crime le ho sebedisa dithethefatsi tse re le dielang ho lo beta le ho hlekefetsa bomme le bana. E leng ntho e bohlokwa kapa e ke ibadileng mona e le sehloho se seholo haholo. Re hopola hore maobane ha o qeta ho bua CIC mona, bomme ba ka bang robong kapa robedi ba le ba hlekefetswa. Ke ne ke kopa tshwarelo jwalo ka ntate ho bomme ka ho jikelele South Africa ka ketsahalo eno. Ke be ke potlaka ke ya mane ho di-veteran. Ntate o buile mona hore di-veteran di lahletswe ka thoko. DOR ke nahana hore solution sa hore re ka fumana re rutile kapa re trainile ha re nke tsone di-veteran tse di ba rute melao batho ba. Re potlaka re tlo ruta bana ba rona kapa batjha ba rona ka taba ya kapa re leke ho kopanya di-social worker kapa di-psychology. Di-psychologists tse ka kgonang ho ba thusa ho hlaha bonyaneng. Hobane ntho e ke elelletsweng, ha o le ngwana wa moshimane, mme wa hao a reipilwe, o sena matla a hore o ka mo lwanela, o ba le anger. Because now, ha ona motho a o cancelang, o end up o tsamaya the very same route because of a vengeance. O lelekisana le ho batla ho lwantsha motho yane a hlekefeditseng mmao kapa motho eo mo ratang. Ke a leboha.
Thank you very much. Number 2.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. My name is Tsepole Chalaba from the Free State Province in the Fezile Dabi region, Ward 6 in Metsimaholo Municipality. I'm here to make it's a follow-up and to rectify and correct the mistakes that have been made here on the organizational report. The follow-up that I'm making, the former Secretary, Gotrich Gadi, he never touched or commented on the office of the Fezile Dabi. So we would like him to say something. And a call that we are making, I can say as the branches, we are calling for the resignation. We are calling for the resignation or the intervention from the national headquarters of the EFF to intervene in the Fezile Dabi because we have suffered a lot, and we think if this problem persists or it keeps on going, we are going to suffer a lot in the Fezile Dabi in the coming local elections. And then regarding the organizational report on page 104, regarding the issue of, or the paragraph of Muidrai, this sentence, it says, in Fezile Dabi, the province has also pushed for the Muidrai land occupation, which resulted in successful allocation of residential stands to over 2,500 households in Medzimaholo. And then to correct such statement, it is incorrect to say that the province has pushed for such program. We never got any support from the province, the RCT. This program of Muidrai, it was pushed and spearheaded by the branches in Medzimaholo and our councillors. So can that mistake be corrected to say that the branches and the councillors in Medzimaholo have spearheaded the Muidrai land occupation program? Thank you.
That's fine. Last one from Free State.
Thank you, Commissar DP. I'll be very brief. My name is Morosi Mukatsani. I'm a chairperson.
Chief, I didn't point you. The fighter at the back there, the last fighter, the female fighter at the back is the one who was appointed with the black cap. Please sit down and then the fighter must proceed there. You can come to this microphone, fighter. You can run to this microphone.
What about? What's your bit?
Ka leboha DP, lebitso la ka ke Modiehi, ke tlhaga ko Free State, region ya Fezile Dabi, masepaleng wa Medzimaholo, Ward 13. Ki chairperson in that ward. DP, I just want to make input because fighter mona sa khavile tse ding tse ne ke tse ke tlo di bua. In 2017, ka June, re la dissolve masepala ko Medzimaholo, ga khutla ka di city tse 80 ka thuso ya ya EFF as a whole, re a leboha. Ke lebohele le EFF ha ntse re thusa case ena ya Muidrai ba re patalla di illegal fees because province ena e buang ka yona ka hara report ha ke so e bone ha re tsebe le support ya teng. Even la ha re ya court of Bloemfontein where girls ba dula mo ha ba re support le go support. So in future PCT e tloele ho ikenya ntwentseo. Then another thing, EFF in Medzimaholo, ba la manager ho khutlisa ba sebetsi ba 330 ba kentse motion ka 2017 ka leboha.
Northwest.
From Northwest, Makamudiri Mulema, Board 13.
What 13 where in Nagamudiri Mulema?
Mafikeng. There's an issue called an informal settlement by Bitsa Merimi. Merimi seems to be occupying municipal land.
There are so many people who are standing on the microphone of Northwest there, and they are not pointed, all of them. Can you allow the fighter to speak? The second one that I've appointed is the regional chairperson of Bojanala with the black top, and then the one with the white top. The rest of you must sit down. Let's proceed, fighter.
Thank you, sir. There's an issue called an informal settlement called Mafikeng called Merimi. It seems to be occupying municipal land and public works. We seek assistance from leadership as they are going through a battle
a court case, the municipality. We seek assistance, director, like as in how to go about it to get things done properly, because they do not have a voice of their own, nor do they have backup, or in terms of knowledge, they are very, very clueless as to how to go about this. So rekopa direction, and then rekopa other branches to support us in this quest for getting these people land properly and not them being removed. Yeah. And Ngaka Mudiri Mulema seems to be one of the most, how do I put this, very fraudulent irregular administrations and things like that. We're looking forward to taking over the municipality. We just need assistance from you guys. Municipal elections are around the corner. Kalebo.
Number 2.
Thank you very much, DP. I'd like to congratulate the leadership that was democratically elected yesterday, our top 6. Mine is very short, DP. It's just corrections and particularly it's speaking to the organizational report by the SG. SG, I'll beg your indulgence. On page 114, paragraph 4, where it says the deputy chairperson of Bujanala left the organization and the secretary of the region, who was a councillor, to pursue business, but still remains a member of the organization. The correction there is that the secretary of the region only resigned as a councillor, but remains the regional secretary. 2, on the organization, on the political report by the president, indeed the unity of the organizations of the left in South Africa is paramount. I come from Bujanala as a regional chairperson where AMCU was founded, and it has been a political, the organization took, the CCT took a decision that the president should no longer attend to rallies of AMCU after the incident that happened in front of our eyes when the president went to visit there the last time in the commemoration. But I believe that the president of AMCU came here yesterday and extended an olive branch to the EFF and its commander-in-chief. And the organization, since we took a posture not to attend anymore the commemorations of AMCU in Marikana, the organization seems to be having a challenge there. Thank you very much, DP.
The last one.
My name is Lopan Rampa from Matlosana, Dr. KK, Ward 36. Ke na le fela ntho tse pedi tse ke batlang go di raise as a suggestion. Firstly, ke kganya di-card. The suggestion and the ntho ke kopang from lona ke gore we are losing members ko Dr. KK because I work as a volunteer ko officing a region. Now, ke dula ke ntse ke lwantshiwa ko officing gore lona ga le re bereke sentle because re patela dikarata mare ga ditle. Ba bone they waited and they are still waiting now. It's 2 years. Now, the proposition would be, how about for each and every province, if you have machine ya go dira dikarata, gore dikarata di kgone go tla go bathong ka bonako. Ke kopo go tswa go di branch membereng tsa go Dr. KK eo. Ke re ke fitise as a delegate ya bona. Ya boithuki, we are approaching 2021 local government elections. Now, ke ne ke kopa leadership e romele batho bangwe ba ba maleba for political education, for voter education, gore equipe baba go branching, because at times the branch level members but spoiler the ballot papers because ga ba itse ntho ba e etsang. But if they can be educated ka nako, ke tshepa gore masepala wa rona re tla wina. Thank you.
That's fine. Northern Cape is two fighters, the one with the blue jacket and the one with the almost military top. And then in Gauteng is two females and the regional secretary of Johannesburg. Let's go Northern Cape.
Hello? Hello. Good morning, everybody, and congratulations on the new elected top 6. And thank you, DP, for the opportunity that you've provided me right now. What I would like to address is one of the
You must introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry. My name is Simniki Wembiza from Northern Cape, Ward 13, a PCT delegate. That's me.
So what 13 where in the Northern Cape?
ZFF Ngao, which was formerly known as Sianda District.
Sianda region, which sub-region?
ZF Ngao.
Okay, that's fine.
I would like to address one of the 7 cardinal pillars which touch on education, free education. Currently, we are sitting with conditional free education, which I was personally a victim of a few months ago at the University of Free State. Now, what I propose to the House is that once free education is implemented fully, I suggest that the schooling system itself should be redesigned, because the current one, it doesn't provide us with empowering intellectuals that can grow and sustain economic freedom. The content that educators use to educate learners should be Pan-African to serve relevance to the majority in the classrooms. The schooling system should be linked with the job market in order to understand what is needed within the economy from the schools present. This will get graduates hired straight from institutions and diminish the alarming unemployment rate. The other point I'd like to make is when it comes to nationalization of mines, banks, and other strategic sectors, which is page 29 of the political report, as we are working to the nationalization of the banks, I'd like to also suggest that some sort of motion or bill should be moved that forces banks to acquire a balanced collateral for unpaid loans for historically disadvantaged individuals, and should be motioned in the meantime as we're working towards the nationalization of banks, mines, and other private strategic sectors. Thank you.
Next. Can I understand something in that queue? The 3 fighters behind you, are they from Gauteng, all of them?
Yes.
And then you are from Northern Cape?
Yes.
Because in Gauteng, I've got 2 females and the regional secretary of Johannesburg. One of you I have not pointed to there. You must know whom we have not pointed to. I know there's a person who's wearing a spoti, whom we said is pointed in Gauteng, regional secretary, and of the 2 of you, one of you is not pointed. Proceed, fighter.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The President and the members of the CCT, I salute you. Mine is a very short, clarity-seeking question. In fact, I'm Poncho Muchuana. I'm from Northern Cape, Solplai Kisap Region, Ward 12. I'm also the CIC in waiting. Thank you. Yeah, mine is a short clarity-seeking question. I just need to get clarity in terms of labor issues. To know who is particularly in the office of the region and the province, who is obligated to deal with labor matters. Because day in, day out, we get people flocking into the office of the EFF, seeking help in terms of labor issues. So we need to get clarity and direction on who is actually obligated to deal with such matters. Thank you very much.
Next one.
Thank you, DP. My name is Siamo Makauta from the Tshwane Sub-Region 5197. As it shows in the organizational report that we're struggling to attract female members as desired, I believe that how the leadership dealt with yesterday's incident has cemented the organizational stance on gender-based violence. Now, quoting what our own Ms. World has said on women taking up space, together with the political report on women emancipation, I propose that women are put forward in security conversations, as it seems it is mostly women who are affected and manhandled by security. Women know how they need and want to be treated. We have solutions, allow us to take a space, and this goes well with what was said on page 36 of the political report, that EFF should be at the forefront of gender struggles and fight against all forms of discrimination. Let us take space in the security conversations. Thank you.
Thank you. The fighter with the red cap is the one to speak next. The fighter with the jean jacket standing in front of the regional secretary of Johannesburg was not pointed at. So we'll make the contributions in the commission.
Thank you, DP. My name is Moyagazi Mazibugo from Ward 42, Gauteng, Sidibeng region, Mfuleni sub-region. I would like to maybe request from the former SG, if it is possible, I believe maybe it's an omission, or maybe from the reports that were received from the regions. In Gauteng, all regions consistently since 2016 have been doing back-to-school programs, sanitary towels programs, donations to old age homes and orphanages, and donations to poor families and child-headed families, if that could be mentioned within the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DP. Ikama, Uslumko, Wagamabona, Regional Secretary of Johannesburg, Ward 22, Soweto. Firstly, let me welcome all the three reports. They were very comprehensive and they set the tone and the standard. So it's up to each and every delegate that is here, because all structures are represented, from the province to regions to branches. We take the report back and ensure that we try and match up the standards of the reports and for accountable purposes. But DP, let me speak on two issues. Firstly, on the organizational report, on page 152, we'd like to apologize in terms of organizational report, in terms of the achievements in municipalities. The first one that speaks to councillor, that speaks to the danger allowance for JMPD. Even though it was a motion that was proposed by the EFF, it was defeated in council and it was not adopted. So if that can be corrected as not one of the achievements, even though now it's a policy in the city of Johannesburg that JMPD is receiving danger allowance. The motion was defeated, but later on the management, through engagement and the labor movement did adopt that particular motion in terms of the engagement. And also, it must be noted on the page 179 to 181 in Annexure G, in terms of obituaries. In Gauteng, we lost 2 public representative councillors from Tshwane region and also Johannesburg region. Fighter Julie Spear and also Fighter Lorraine Sidite. Thank you very much.
What done, comrades, in terms of the inputs from all the provinces? Western Cape. It was alphabetical, so Western Cape is the last one because of alphabetical order.
Ndiyabulisa igama lam ndumxolelwa Rhini ndisuka eNtshona Koloni ku Overberg district ku Cape Agulhas municipality kwa Ward 3. Ndiza nesicelo kukho sinengxaki ye xa kuvotwayo pha kwi ballot papers phaya kukho xa isuka phezulu sehla nayo kukho EFF and then ezantsi kwayo kube kwi FFP, so ziyafana xa zimisiwe phaya and then zikwi line A1 ziyalandelelana, so i-voters ziyacomplaina kakhulu because baye bane misunderstanding yoba i-EFF xa befuna uvota. So baye ke ngoku beze nezikhalazo ukuthi I know ba ukuthi yixanduva lethu ukuthi sibafundise, but ke ngoku mna ndiza nale issue phambi kwenu ukuthi if nina ningathetha no-IEC at least zingasesezisondelelane noba yona ibe ngentla kakhulu noba iyothi ncapha ngakwi-ANC koba bhetere kakhulu. So andiyazi noba ndiphume emxholweni na kodwa ke bisisicelo sethu. Enkosi.
Siyabulela kakhulu Fighter. Next.
Igama lam ndingukanyiso Foto ndisuka eCape Metro Western Cape kwa Ward 20. I am a branch secretary.
Wait a bit, there's 2 people behind you. One of them must sit down because it was not pointed. Sure.
I-organization isoloko ithetha ngomhlaba. Zesithi ke ngoku xa simobilize abantu ubaba occupy umhlaba xa kukhona into baba banjwe i-organization ayibonakali. Bendicela ukuba kuzo zonke i-province okanye i-region kube khona illegal test ezosinceda kwiimeko ezinje. Umzekelo nje omncinci apho ndisuka khona eLibode eWard 8 eNyandeni local municipality sine issue yomhlaba pha. Oko EFF yayisithi iyeza akekho umuntu engathethanga naye from region, province, deployees bonke ndibazama baya pha bafike balontsha ibranch bafumana ivotes ezininzi ngekwezi elections zidlulileyo. Emveni koko sikhange baphinde babonakale into eyiyo. Sicela bangenzi into eyenziwa yi-ANC basijongisa kakubi ngabantu. Size kwindaba ye-DOR. Thina abantu siyibonileyo laa nto ibisenzeka izolo. imbi kakhulu. And indothuthisile uba leadership ibikade ingayiqapheli DOR uba ine element yo abuser fighters. Siyacela DOR province ne province mayibe ne DOR. Kungasuke abantu kwenye province bafike baqhaphaza abantu bazogqiba baphinde bahambe. Thank you very much.
The last one.
Ngixolani kaChethu, Ward 3 eMatsigama. I'm a regional chairperson of West Coast. My submissions, we can look in page 118, paragraph 6. As far as I know, ever since the RCT was elected, it is still intact. But when I look the report, I see that you say that is inactive. Failure to understand the last meeting whereby we were electing the RCT delegates. And then the SJ was presiding that meeting. If it was inactive, how possible will I hear? The second question is regarding the financial report. As I understand, in by-elections, we found that the organization just give us the T-shirt without food. So we suffered a lot. So I asked in this house that please fund the by-elections. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, fighters. Now the CCT is going to respond. The president. Oh, Mpumalanga. Number 1, Mpumalanga. Oh, the 2 fighters in front there, number 1. And then the female fighter here from Komazi. And the number 3, the female fighter as well. Let's go.
Thanda ukunibingelela nonke igama lami uSibongile ngakanhlapho dipaliseng secretary wase Hot 4 eGertsiband ebesicala thina ku CIC ukuthi amarali manwayenzile amakhulu nathi bese kuma sub-region amancane nisenzela amarali amancane uCIC eze mhlambe emini abantu bamide because abantu bayithanda EFF but akusiyo wonke umuntu ofuna ukuthi avote angabonanga umalema wonke umuntu uthi sifuna umalema so sicela ukuthi umalema wabantu afike emini akhalisela abantu music aba address ngendlela aba addressa ngayo bese abantu bazokhona ukuthi baxole nabo ngaphakathi.
I did not point you, Chief. I only pointed 3 females in the Mpumalanga delegation. Can you step aside and then give the next female to speak there?
My name is Miriam Matlangu from Emalahleni, Ward 13. Kuland ne sine problem yokuthi if abantu ba claim land back then kuba ne CPA ekhona ukuthi iba monitor then kunama problems amaningi ngoba le CPA igcine seyithatha le land ibelonga kibo So abantu ba lose i-direction ukuthi what is happening manje. Manje bengicela ku-EFF ukuthi kena is-investigatele ukuthi i-CPA isebenza kanjani ukuze uma imonitor izindawo zabantu abantu babe nolwazi ukuthi kwenzekani. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you very much. The last one is the fighter.
From Komazi. Thank you, DP. My name is Tembisile Catherine Shisane Kokomkumbane from Komazi Local Municipality, Ehlanzeni Region, Mpumalanga Province. Mine is to air the views on issues that were said by our CIC on political report. I was touched when our CIC mentioned the issue of discipline. The issue of discipline, since we know that we are radical and militant forces in EFF. I want to indicate that when we arrived here, my belief that we are here to learn and not to learn for ourselves, to learn to go and help the people outside. We find ourselves in a situation whereby in our meeting, we address squabbles between ourselves because we don't attend to issues when they are discussed here. When I went out, I know this one is going to be a pill that will be hard to be swallowed. When yesterday I went out during the organizational report, the majority of the fighters were outside. What do we expect from those people to go and present to the people at home? We need to be here. That is why, you forgive me, even in the medias, we fight on petty issues. Yet, if we're here, we'll be getting answers on those issues. But we are outside, we copycat the issues that are done by our opposition. Those things of staying outside, then they are my opposition. He mentioned, our CIC, that people do not believe on ourselves. We are making that one, that the people must not believe. He even said the organization is rooted in discipline. When it is rooted in discipline, he said the EFF believe in black excellence. Can a soldier be excellent if sometimes he forget to carry his gun properly? He just walk like this with a gun. That's what we're doing. We need to be principled. We need to be focused. If we say we are radical, we must be radical. Corrective measures on the issue under the code of conduct. Please, the newly elected leaders, add this one. It will be number 10 or number what? Strictly, the lingering about during the session is strictly prohibited. Strictly prohibited. People can go outside to drink water. People can go to the toilet. If you feel that you cannot listen, wash your face and come back and try to concentrate. I'm getting a problem. Can we be able to read the document if we fail to listen? Listening is better than reading. It means we are not going to do anything.
Thank you.
Lastly, he mentioned the issue of championing on the decolonization of curriculum. Sinenginga baphasi beklesin khethile. Kunalenginga le yale curriculum whereby our children are going to be taught sexual education. Grade 4, displaying everything, displaying a male, penetrating to a girl child. What will happen there? Our girl child are going to be victims because these boys will want to go and exercise this to our girl child. The rape is going to be high.
Thank you very much. We had the input.
Ngiyabonga.
We're going to then take responses from the CCT, the first NPA CCT. The president is going to lead in the responses. Comrade President.
Mandla. Comrades, this session is just to get the discussion moving, the real stuff will happen in the commissions. For instance, Mama is talking about sexual education. You might be sitting that side disagreeing with that view. But in a commission, we all get opportunity to engage each other, persuade each other, then make recommendations to plenary. I wanted to deal with the issue of AMCU. I've been in all meetings of the EFF, and I've made inputs in those meetings. We never had any decision that we don't attend the Marikana commemoration or AMCU, anything. So a regional chairperson stands here and tells us about the CCT decision which he doesn't sit in, effectively taking a rumor from the streets and bring it into the plenary, into the highest decision-making structure of the organization, in the presence of the media, that there is CCT decision that we don't attend to AMCU events. It's not true, it's a lie. That's why President of AMCU was here. But if you watched the Legacy Project video, AMCU, the treasurer, is speaking there in the video of the EFF as part of the legacy projects that we've engaged in. So if we had a problem with AMCU, they wouldn't even participate in our legacy project documentary, which earlier on I'm told it was displayed here. It is the EFF that is spearheading the consolidation of the left forces. And therefore it can't be the EFF that isolate or fight with independent unions like AMCU. The other point I want to deal with is the people want to see the president. People want Malema Wabantu. I've never been a fanatic in my life. I support Pirates. Even when it loses, I don't feel anything, because I'm not a fanatic. So no one gets to agitate me. Hey, people want you here, people want you there. There's no such a thing. It's not there. I know when people want me, because your report, your membership, your election results, all of that will speak to the fact that the president will have to visit that area, because it looks like there is potential that side. So a person comes here, and in all meetings I come to in your provinces, the people want you, come to our area. Then I agree, or okay, I will come. I always do that. I say, no, I will come. I will come next week, Saturday. Go and mobilize. When I arrive there, there are no people, including the person who said the people want you there. He's now hiding. But if you are a fanatic, you get overwhelmed by such requests, and there is nothing. I'm not the EFF. Neither am I a Holy Spirit. I won't be everywhere at the same time. The EFF must be everywhere at the same time, because the EFF is not Malema. When you are happy, you tell people EFF is not Malema. When you have your problems, Malema must come. The people want Malema. You are Malema of your branch. Do exactly what Malema was going to do in your branch. Let's work. Stop looking for people from somewhere. Like those people who came here singing and kneeling down here in front of me and the officials. And then the papers write that Malema is a cult, people are kneeling before him, as if I asked you to kneel before me. Never asked you to kneel. Don't kneel before me. I don't want that. I had a vendor friend who got married to a beautiful woman. And I went to his house. In the vendor culture, when women serve men food, they kneel. And then that woman, you know, sophisticated woman, man. And in Johannesburg, we're not even in vendor. In Johannesburg, that woman kneels down. I saw that thing for the first time. And then he gave that guy food. Then he left. When she tried to kneel before me, I picked her up. I said, no, if you do that, I'm not going to eat this food, so stand up. Then she stood up, she gave me the food, she left, and I told that guy, if that's how you're going to treat her in my presence, I'm no longer going to come to this house. Because no human being must kneel before another human being. It's not possible. You will do those things of kneeling there before Bushiri, because some of you even thank him for taking you to parliament. I'm not your father, Papa Bushiri. I'm not Papa of anyone. I receive Papa. I'm in parliament, Papa. Slaughtering goats, saying you are in parliament because of your ancestors. Personalizing political responsibilities. That's why when you are removed from those responsibilities, you have a difficulty because you went to thank Papa. Papa gave you the position. Why is the EFF removing me from the position that was given to me by Papa? It's not Papa's position. It's a position of the revolution. It can be taken any time from you. But once you personalize it and pray about it and even tell children and wives about it, tomorrow you are out. And then it becomes a family problem because you involved everyone on issues that do not belong to them. Never kneel before anyone. Never personalize the revolution. The EFF is not my kitchen. I'm going to leave this organization, especially this position, one day. I must leave it intact and I must leave it bigger than what it is now. It must not disappear with me, like Sibukwe SG writes here in his report, that no, the EFF was going to die if Malema gets arrested like they did with Sibukwe. It's giving them an idea that they must arrest me now, so that so that EFF can die. Why do you say if I get arrested, EFF will die? These people are going to arrest me because they want to kill the EFF. So I am not the EFF. You are the EFF. And never make anyone feel like he is the EFF. Without that person, there will never be the EFF. DP, the inputs as I listen to them now, there is nothing that necessarily warrant a coherent response. Majority of them are about comments and how we can improve. Where amendments were made, corrections were made, the SG has effected those corrections. All of us should do the same. And then from there, we have to go and take this discussion forward in the commission. This meeting is too big. The other thing, comrades, and I warned you earlier, never be tempted to discuss security, your security, in this arrangement. Never allow a situation in the presence of agents of the enemy to discuss your security, how you are going to secure yourself. I asked you earlier on and you are continuing. You are being excited and you are being emotional. You don't deal with security issues the way you want to go about them. You are giving room for infiltration. We are where we are because we had to take the measures we took. We have secured this meeting. The enemy is not happy. At all, the enemy is not happy. They say an analyst who was sleeping here, he puts some skin here on top all the time. I don't know his name. Sitole was here with an animal skin on the head here. He was literally sleeping here. Then Kathy Mtlatlana woke him up. Then they both left. He's going to do political analysis of this conference from sleeping. He wakes up straight to comment about this conference. It was Sitole who was saying the EFF is lying about fees must fall, about insourcing. Vavi came here and confirmed everything else. We are not the ones that are claiming. Even unions are saying, you are correct. It was the students of the EFF who have championed. At VETS, sit tall, wake up. At VETS, the insourcing of workers was chaired by Dalimpofu. And then Sitola says, no, EFF is claiming this victory. They never did anything like that. So, the enemy is not happy. It took a lot of efforts to bring you here and to have this thing that we are having here. To elect a top 6 so peacefully, in an orderly manner. You have never seen it even in the ruling party that took place, the conference that took place here. It has never happened. And then you come out of, a serious incident, but isolated incident. You come here and want to please the enemy and say our security in our provinces we must arrange our security. It must be a resolution of conference. The enemy knows how security of the EFF gets to be organized. It's easy now to infiltrate them. We came and apologized to you. What is the meaning of apology to you? What is the meaning of apology if it's worth nothing? Because after the president said sorry, the matter was supposed to be closed. And then we go and deal with this matter as the leadership of the EFF. Because it's a security matter. We're telling you, we're dealing with it. We've taken one step, we're zooming into the other step. Other proposals from Free State, there was that, please invest more in training, especially crowd control, and we're taking that into consideration. Now people start saying, no, the region must have its own DOR. Province must have its own DOR. And all. How do you do that? It's never done anywhere. We have been in the struggle for many years. Dali will tell you. We never get to know what's going to happen. You see security when you arrive there. And then they tell you, this side. When you go that side, no, wrong side, that side. And then we just follow along with a school bag. You don't question. If you want to build an organization that is coherent and based on principles of discipline, do not argue with security, not only here, even at Standard Bank, even at the gate of any building, as security ID, you take out the ID. Otherwise, you won't enter that place. So, and even when you work in that building, you never get to know what is the security arrangement. Why are the securities making us to take out IDs? We are just told ID. We take out the ID, we pass. When there is a case of harassment, isolated, we deal with it and we discipline those who harass our people. So let us not be agitated by things that actually media is making us to be agitated about. The DOR ran a smooth registration. DOR ran a smooth first day. One man messed it up in the evening after a successful plenary. Isolated incident, we're on top of it. DOR, again this morning, we're told, please act with restraint, respect delegates, respect the guests, respect more in particular the media. Because media, by virtue of being media, they will try to take chances. It's their job. When you say, yeah, you can't enter, they try and see. Why are they saying you can't enter? You want to go and see what's happening there. You don't say, hey, we said don't enter. Yes, man, sorry, don't, please. Please, we said you are not allowed here. Please. We are talking to them. So let us not be agitated about DOR. We have secured all your meetings. And you know what, comrades? And I didn't want to say that. One of the people here who talks about the DOR and that we must do away with the DOR is a comrade that comes from Northwest who went to the student command conference. And he was not a student 1. He was not a delegate 2. He engaged in fraud, got access into a student command conference. When the students complained about this thug, we had to deal with it. Because if we don't, the legitimacy of that conference will be questioned on the basis of one person. The same person has got the guts to stand up here and tell us he's got a problem with DOR. The same man who went into a conference without being a delegate. We must listen to such a person. Like the eThekwini chairperson. Is the chairperson? Yesterday, eThekwini chairperson, the whole regional chairperson, went to take an ID copy of a branch delegate who gave an apology and said, I'm a security guard, I won't make it to the conference, I will not be coming chairperson. Then the chairperson says, send me a copy of your ID because they will need it for that apology. Then he's given the copy of the ID. He comes here. He goes and registers in the name of a branch delegate who's not here. The people who lose conference here, they come across that information, they take it to court. The results of this conference will be nullified. I can't do that. I can't say to this man, no, get out of this conference. You're not legitimate delegate. A person who can do a fraudulent name tag has got the potential of beating you up. Move here when I use trial when I see CIC for what are better. So I can't be engaged in those things. There must be people who deal with those things. Oreban, this person is not a legitimate delegate. He must be isolated. They said to him, yes, we can see, but this is not you. Who's going to deal with those things? You say a marshal must come and do that. A marshal. A person who's not trained must come and do that. Such suggestions ordinarily come from disruptive elements who have a problem with discipline, and when we are like this, they always try and weaken our systems so that they can collapse our conferences. Don't be tempted to fall into the hands of agent provocateurs, some of which were caught before doing wrong things. They apologized. We allowed them to continue as members of the EFF. They still try and weaken the systems of the EFF so that they can undermine the integrity, the unity, and the beautiful image of this conference. So let's focus, fighters. Let us not be derailed by those who are offended by this beautiful picture of the EFF. Tomorrow, we want to close this conference with a much, much more beautiful picture of the top 6 year and CCT members, a whole pact of happy delegates who are looking forward to go back to their branches and tell them the report of how things went here. Thank you. Yeah, comrades, we are going to ask the Deputy President now to deal with adoptions of the report. Once the adoptions are done, the Deputy President is going to present organizational redesign plenary, in the plenary. Once it's presented, we are going to break for lunch. During the break of the lunch, that's where you are going to have your caucuses as provinces to consolidate your lists for additional members. So that when we come here with a clear mandate of what's going to happen. So lunch will be combined with caucus. Then once the nominations are taken by IMSA, we'll now announce the commissions, and then we all go to the commissions. I liked what Mama said there of loitering around. Again, you don't want DOR because you want to come to this conference of 32 million just to sit outside and start playing kissing game. Spin the bottle, when it faces you, I kiss you. Spin the bottle, for 32 million, you spin the bottle for kiss. We're not here, we're not a kiss party here. We're here to work. No one should be outside, DOR. No one should be outside during the plenary and the commission. We are here to work. We are not here to play. So you want to play around. That's why you don't want tight security measures. Why did you come here? Because Maholo Abuile, you could be drinking with Maholo at home. Why did you come here? You left Makholwa to come and work here for the future of our children. When you arrive here, you go and play outside. And again, we are not teachers. We can't be coming to call you, hey, go inside, go inside, go. No. We take it, you are too old and disciplined. You know why you are here. Unless you are a bogus delegate who didn't come here through a branch mandate. But when you carry a mandate of your branch, you sit in a hall to listen if that mandate is being carried through. So discipline, comrades, even during commissions, maximum participation. When you are outside, you must have a valid reason. Like this guy who's standing in front of me. He likes going outside to do certain things and come back. So you must be like him. Go outside, do your thing, come back. And it must be one after a very long time. But before the elections, I saw this one next to me taking one after another outside. And I realized there is a big problem here. So, comrades, let's try and avoid loitering outside the plenary. Let's participate inside. Commissions, it's now your turn as delegates. There you speak the way you want, you raise everything. Leisurely Putswa Metsimaholo, it's a special case. It doesn't require a plenary. If our office was closed for 14 months, then the new Secretary General will have to follow that up. Because no one should close the office of the EFF. No chairperson, no secretary. The office of the EFF must always be open. To close the office of the EFF because you are fighting with the secretary, you are ill-disciplined, and the code of conduct of the EFF must apply with immediate effect. So it doesn't need plenary, it needs you to raise issues properly through the structures of the organization. Will attend to it. I was asking the TG, outgoing TG. She said, no, we're paying the office. And I asked DSG, the former DSD, she says, we don't know that the office is closed. So that information has come, we'll attend to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President. Comrades, we're going to now take hands that are going to move for adoption of the organizational report. The hands that are moving for the adoption of the organizational report. Yes, fighter here.
Ngibingelela igama uPrince wakaduma uphuma eMgungudlo of region sub-region umsunduzi wat 18 ngiyamukela njengoba injalo.
You move for the adoption of the organizational report?
Yebo ngiyayimove.
Okay, that's fine. Can we get a seconder? Yes, fighter.
Mangaliso Tunyiswa from Ward 6, JB Max Sub-Region, Dr. KK, Region, Northwest Province. I hereby second the mover of all the reports. Thank you very much.
We're not adopting all the reports, we're dealing with the organizational
Organizational report, Deputy President. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Are there objections? There are no objections. The organizational report is adopted. And thank you very much. We can give a round of applause for that. Can we then get a mover for adoption of the Treasurer's report? A mover for, can we only get females raising hands? A mover for adoption of the Treasurer's report. The fighter there is going to move.
I, Boitumelo Nancy Dipicho from Lekwate, Manning Ward 7. I move for the adoption of the Treasurer report.
There's a mover for adoption of the Treasurer's report. Can we get a seconder? The fighter here, the female fighter with the red top there. From Free State Province.
My name is Palisa. I'm from Sutsoto, Tabamufusanyana, Ward 7. I adopt the financial report. Amen.
You second, let's go back to the mic. You second the adoption of the Treasurer's report.
I second.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection? Is there any objection? I see a hand there. Yes, Chief.
My name is Tabiso Ditira from Ngakamodiri Molema, Tswaing, Ward 4. I have an objection on the Treasurer's report since on the report, page 33.122. This money 833, 800 and 167, 784. That was mentioned as the funds that some frauds happened. And on the spreadsheet that was displayed yesterday there, the screens, I didn't see this money presented.
That's fine. You are moving a motion to reject the adoption of the Treasurer's report. Is there any seconder? Is there any seconder to that motion? There's a hand here. Yes.
Kinama Lebohomo, Lebohomo, Ward 15, Lepelengumbi, Capricorn District. I move to reject the adoption of the Treasurer's report.
You second the rejection of the report.
I beg yours. I second the rejection of the adoption of the Treasurer's report.
Comrades, in terms of the rules and guidelines of this National Assembly, we said that when there's an issue that is in dispute, voting in plenary will be by show of hands. Can we then get hands of delegates that are moving for the adoption of the Treasurer's report? We can put the hands down. Can we get the hands of those that are rejecting the Treasurer's report? The hands are fewer. The Treasurer's report is adopted. Thank you very much, comrades, in terms of this process. Can we proceed with the organizational redesign? Amandla! Viva EFF, viva! EFF yasetsenzelwa. EFF yasetsenzelwa. Oh, la la. Oh, la la. EFF yatireliwa. EFF yatireliwa. Oh, la la. Oh, ah, la, la. EFF ya berekelwa. EFF ya berekelwa. Oh, ah, la, la. Oh, ah, la, la. EFF ya shumeriwa. EFF ya shumeriwa. Oh, ah, la, la. Oh, ah, la, la. Amanda. Viva EFF, viva. Viva EFF, viva. Long live the Commander-in-Chief, long live. Long live the Commander-in-Chief, long live. Long live the Commander-in-Chief, long live. Thank you very much, comrades. We are going to now deal with a presentation, a plenary presentation on a perspective that is part of our discussion document. It is the first document in the discussion documents that have been handed over. So this thick book here is what all of us must be going through in terms of the presentation. So this is what is going to happen when we break for commissions later. All of us, all commissions, before you deal with your topical issues, we are going to discuss the constitutional amendments, but also to discuss the perspective on organizational building, on organizational character and building. So on page 3 of that document, it outlines what are the key issues in that document. That it deals with what is the character of the EFF. What is its manifestations? So the president spoke yesterday about the multiple concurrent manifestations of the EFF as an organization. To say that a revolutionary organization has got multiple manifestations. But 2, the perspective is going to deal with what is an ideal economic freedom fighters. When we say that the EFF has achieved some degree of perfection, what do we mean? We're going to speak to that when we get to that section. And then we'll underneath that, explain that what is an ideal central command team, an ideal province of the EFF, an ideal region, an ideal sub-region, an ideal branch. What is an ideal activist of the EFF? And then make a diagnosis of what is the current reality. And then I also highlight what are the strengths of the EFF that we must consolidate on. And then speak to the question of what is to be done. What do we do to achieve an ideal EFF? And then highlight the key issues that must be opposed and be combated in the movement. And then the last section of that document speaks to the organizational redesign perspectives, most of which are going to serve in the commissions that are going to be dealing with. Now, comrades, in page 3, in page 6, we give the background of what we've just highlighted now, that an organization has got different expressions. So in the past, you will find liberation movements who were a liberation movement, but the political party, sometimes even a revolutionary army in one. So what are the different manifestations of the EFF in the current context? We then speak about the organizational manifestation of the EFF, that we are an organization. But what is also our political manifestation? Political manifestation and an ideological manifestation. We're also an activist, campaigning and mass movement. And then the governance manifestation of the EFF. And then the Pan-Africanist and internationalist manifestation of the EFF. And then the student command manifestation of the EFF. So in each component, we explain that organizationally, the EFF is an organization that is driven by democratic centralism. What is democratic centralism? Democratic centralism is anchored on basically three aspects. One is powers of the National Conference. Two is the decisions of upper structures are binding on lower structures. Three is that once decisions have been taken, your right to disagree dwindles into insignificance. It doesn't matter what you think about what should happen. Once decisions have been taken, it doesn't matter what your position is personally, and you must be able to defend that perspective that has been a decision of an organization. So the organization is an organization that is driven by democratic centralism with its one unitary organization. So it's one EFF led by a central command team, and then of course provincial command teams, regional command teams, but those cannot take decisions that are contrary to the mandates of a National People's Assembly or of the central command team, because the decisions of upper structures are binding on lower structures. In terms of the second manifestation, we talk there about the EFF's ideological and political manifestation. That the EFF, according to the founding manifesto, now the founding manifesto is the most important document in the EFF because it is what founded the organization. It is not due for amendment. It cannot be amended. It will take another founding conference to amend the founding manifesto of the EFF. It's a foundation that which the organization is built on. So even these comrades from Namibia, from Liberia, from Zimbabwe, before you form an organization, there must be a foundation. There must be a clear articulation of what you stand for, what are your values, and how do you seek to achieve what you stand for, and clearly outlined in the founding manifesto. Now, the founding manifesto of the EFF says that the EFF is a radical leftist, anti-capitalist, and anti-imperialist movement with an internationalist outlook, anchored by popular grassroots formations and struggles. But it's also a vanguard of community and worker struggles who will always be on the side of the people. And we say that with consistency, the EFF will always associate with the protest movement. So that is the character of the EFF as is defined in the founding manifesto. But also to then locate that our ideological tools of analysis, it's Marxist, Leninist, Fanonian. That is the character of the EFF. So those are the spectacles through which we view society. That is the lens through which we understand the future. So we use Marxism, Leninism to understand the future so that we can plan properly in terms of what are the political strategies that we adopt. Now Lenin says that if you just want to build an organization or engage in practice without theory, you are going to be doomed. But also if you want to just engage in theory without practice, you are just going to be a total failure. So we can't have an organization that does not have an ideological landscape and ideological tools of analysis and guide to action. And what is important about the chosen ideological tools of analysis of the EFF is that they are scientific. So these are theories that have been researched in history and have been found to be true beyond any reasonable doubt. That is science. So science is knowledge that has been found to be true beyond any reasonable doubt. And there is consensus that if you do this and this is what is going to be happening. So science is to say that if you mix water with chlorine, it's going to turn purple. In our case, we use these scientific tools of analysis to understand society, that the primary contradictions in any society is class contradictions. That we understand and appreciate that in a capitalist society, there will be the working class and the bourgeoisie, the capitalists. And we are on the side of the working class as the economic freedom fighters. And somewhere in between there is an establishment called the state. And the state, in terms of our own characterization, is a product of the irreconcilability of the class contradictions. Now, you have got the capitalist this side, the owners of the means of production. And then you have got the working class. The working class refers to all of us who do not own the means of production, who do not own the big businesses, the banks, who do not own the land. Those of us, even the unemployed components of us, we are part of the working class. So it's sometimes called the proletariat. Because we are all the same. So even those who are having monthly wages, interval wages, we are part of the working class, all of us. Because majority of the times, what distinguishes you who are employed from those who are not employed is just that monthly income. If it is cancelled, you are going to be living exactly like everyone else. But the bourgeoisie, those who own capital, they do not need to work, they do not need to do anything. They've got wealth for years. So as the EFF, we are fighting for those that are not owning the means of production. That is why we say our enemy becomes the capitalists. And in the South African context, it's white monopoly capital. So we represent the majority because in every capitalist society, the working class is the majority in terms of what gets to transpire. And because the interest of the capitalists and the working class cannot be reconciled, they are in constant confrontation. There is permanent war between the working class and the bourgeoisie, which are the capitalists. Sometimes it is hidden, sometimes it's visible, sometimes it expresses itself through strikes in the workplaces, sometimes it's expressing itself through protests to say we want a share of the wealth that we commonly generate as a society. So out of that context, you have a state that is at the center of that. And we say that state, the state refers to the government, the police, the judiciary, and parliament. That state establishment is a product of the fact that you cannot reconcile the contradictions that exist between the working class and the capitalist. So Lenin says in a book called State and Revolution, all of us must later on look for it. It is available for free for those of you who have got access to the internet. If you go and Google State and Revolution PDF, you will download the whole book. So Lenin says in that book that the state is a product of the irreconcilability of class antagonisms. And he further says that although it arises out of the fact that we cannot reconcile the two classes, it is still an instrument of class rule. So the class that is dominant is the one that utilizes the state to govern over society. And in a capitalist society, what is the dominant class? It is the bourgeoisie, is the capitalist. That is why when workers in Marikana confront the capitalist, it is the state that sends the police and overtly sides with the state, with the capitalist, to kill workers. Not only they're everywhere, the police, the army, which are part of the state establishment, are there to protect the properties of the capitalist, of those who own the means of production. That is their role. Their primary role, it is to keep order so that those who are in charge continue to be in charge. They are about maintaining property relations as they are. And the EFF is on the side of the working class. And what do we seek to do politically? We want to win mass power meaning that we must have the people that support the organization. And we use that mass power to win political power. Political power is when we contest elections and get majority of the people voting for us, and so that we can then take over that state. And once we have taken over that state, we do not use the state to protect the interests of the bourgeoisie. We utilize it as an instrument of working class rule. We take the economy for the benefit of all people. So in the ideological context of all these things, the EFF is on the side of the working class, not only in South Africa, everywhere in the world, because the working class exists in all other parts of the world. So that is the ideological and political character and manifestation of the economic freedom fighters. I'm sure we will be able to then deal with all of those issues. And then the other manifestation of the EFF, it's an activist campaigning mass movement manifestation. Like, so so there is an ideological falsity that says that working class organizations must not be mass-based. They must not involve a lot of masses. It must just be an elite group of few people. Must not engage themselves in mass activities. But the character of the EFF were a mass organization that involves the people in everything else that we do. That engages in campaigns that are about the improvement of the lives of the people in the immediate. Because in the process of fighting against capitalism, in the process of fighting for what we stand for, we do not neglect some of the immediate reforms, revolutionary reforms, that can better the lives of the people in the immediate. That is why we engage on a campaign in public health care. The fighter from Tulamela says that it must not just be a campaign for a year, it must be forever campaign on public health care, so that we can achieve some revolutionary reforms to benefit our people. So that is the manifestation of the EFF in terms of that particular character. We must then deal with those issues. The other component, comrades, when we speak about the manifestation, it's the governance manifestation of the EFF. That we also play a role in terms of oversight of authorities, in terms of legislating laws that will benefit the people. So the organizational report, the political report spoke to the detail of in governance, what have we done? What are the governance consequences and interventions that come as a result of the EFF. Part of those is to say, let us table a motion in Parliament on the expropriation of land without compensation. It's a result of the governance manifestation. Part of that is a motion tabled in the Johannesburg Council by the EFF caucus to insource workers, and they are insourced. So there is a governance manifestation of the EFF that explains that we are represented in all these other components. The other manifestation that is very important is the Pan-Africanist and internationalist manifestation of the EFF. So Pan-Africanism, so when you speak about pan-continentalism, like when we say we're a pan-continental organization, we basically are saying that we are an organization that exists just beyond these narrow borders. In the political report, the president quotes Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, who says that actually if you are just a narrow nationalist, if your politics, if your ideas, if your activism is just nationalist and it doesn't appreciate that there are other African countries, it is not accompanied by Pan-Africanism, then you are very dangerous. So nationalism that is not defined by Pan-Africanism is dangerous. Because you will easily say that, no, it's only us here, South Africans, people from Zimbabwe must go back to Zimbabwe. Not appreciating the fact that these borders that we have here are a recent past creation of the colonial masters who sat in Berlin in 1886 to say, France, you take this part, Belgium, you take this part, the British take this part, Spain take this part, Portugal take this part. And they subjugated all of us, all of us in the African continent, maybe with the exception of Ethiopia, were under colonial rule for hundreds of years. And they knew that if you isolate these people to different groupings, they won't be able to fight against colonialism, which was about political control and economic control of the entire continent. So we are fighting for a struggle that says we should defeat colonialism, we should reverse colonialism. Now the founding fathers of African unity will be Haile Selassie, Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah is the first president post-independence of Ghana. Since 1959, when Ghana gained independence, in the constitution of Ghana, there is an expression that says that Ghana is willing to forego of its sovereignty in the interest of an African government. Because that is the progressive nature that defined the founding fathers of the unity and liberation of Africa. So that is what characterizes the EFF. Also internationalists were associated with progressive forces in the entire world. And then there's a student command manifestation of the EFF, whose role is to mobilize students behind the struggle for economic freedom, as embodied in the EFF founding manifesto. So the role of the student command is to mobilize students, but also it speaks to, in terms of the founding pillars and principles of the EFF student command, it says that it must build a dynamic relationship between students and community struggles and campaigns. Now, those of you who are in the student movement, you must go and read the history of SASU, of the South African Students Union, led by Steve Biko. Student organization, led by comrades who were younger than most of you who are leading the student command now. and check the number of projects and programs that they were engaged in communities, including building clinics and taking care of our people, starting proper projects that understood that we can't contain ourselves in campuses. So if you have got a student command that doesn't appreciate that it exists in a community, it becomes very dangerous. It becomes very dangerous. If you have got a student command that doesn't appreciate that it exists in a community, it becomes very dangerous. It must always appreciate the relationship between student struggles and community struggles in terms of what happens. But also it deals with other issues that are there. And then the section that is on page 22 of your document says, what is an ideal EFF? If we say that the EFF has achieved everything else that it has to achieve, what is it? It says, we envisage or we vision a Marxist, Leninist, Fanonian pan-continental movement with unquestionable ability to lead the whole of society towards economic freedom, comprised of community-based activist branches and members, affiliated workers' unions, civil society organizations, research and educational institutions, professional organizations. That is the ideal organization, that when we have achieved everything, all those components should be defining the EFF. An organization that has built adequate mass political and ideological power to win elections and provide progressive, decisive and responsive socialist government at national, provincial and local level. An organization with maximal capacity to train, develop, guide, oversee and monitor all its employees in all spheres of the state. A mass campaigning organization that consistently wins over members to the struggle for economic freedom and is active even in the period where there are no elections. A Pan-Africanist movement with ability to win elections not only in South Africa, but in other parts of the African continent. So that is the vision of the EFF. You must read through that in terms of what do we think is the vision of the organization as a whole. And then read what is an ideal organization in terms of the province, what should be the capacity of the province, what should be the capacity of the region, what should be the capacity of the branch, what should be the capacity, what should define a member of the EFF. And of central emphasis there is that fighters on the ground must be able to reproduce themselves. So you can't just be a member of the EFF, believe in its values, but you cannot convince someone else to believe in the EFF as well. So a revolutionary central task of every member of the EFF is political and ideological reproduction. You must give birth to yourself. That is what it means. So if you are a member of the EFF and you have never convinced anyone to be part of the EFF, you are part of counter-revolution. You are part of the problem. That is what are the obligations in terms of what happens. The Secretary General says that I must finish because we must go elsewhere to finish the other work. Now, comrades, what is to be done? Like we then highlight the strength in page 34 and 35 of what are the strengths of the organizations currently that we have built some degree of ideological coherence as an organization. We have had far much more bigger impact than many other organizations. We say that compared to other organizations, we have done well as the EFF, but compared to ourselves, we could have done even better. What is to be done would then say that let us mainstream the values that should define the organization. You will see in the commissions that in the constitutional amendment, we want to mainstream these key principles as part of the constitution of the EFF. elected and collective leadership, powers of National People's Assembly, democratic centralism, mandates, accountability and reporting, constructive criticism and self-criticism, discipline and hard work, selflessness, love for the organization and love for one another. So we're explaining each section of, if we embrace all those values, what will be the numerical, quantitative and qualitative consequences for the economic freedom fighters? That is what we deal with in terms of all those issues. Now, in page 39, we highlight the issues that what then do we need to oppose and combat in the organization? That we must combat factionalism, where you belong to members, where you call each other with names and say, even if the other fighter says a principled and correct issue, I won't agree with him or her because they do not belong to my faction. Where you suspend superior logic for factionalism, that is dangerous to the organization. You know, in the other organization, they've even institutionalized factions. Like, it starts first as groups meeting, and then you're always agreeing on everything. You know, in the formal liberation movement, they institutionalized factions. And the CR17 with a logo and an office, bank accounts, and office staff members, and a website. The EFF must not degenerate into that level, because it will split the vision that unites all of us here of attaining economic freedom in our lifetime. We should ideologically remain united. But also what we need to combat is laziness. That you only work when you want to impress leadership. You only convene meetings when the leadership is coming. So every fighter must appreciate that being a revolutionary fighter is a full-time job. Every morning you must ask yourselves that, today what am I going to do for the EFF? Just how many people am I going to convince for the EFF? What good deeds do I engage in that will benefit the EFF? The president says that if all the people who have voted for us in 2019, just those that voted for us, were activists of the EFF, and each and every one of them convinced just 5 people between now and 2019, we're going to get more than 10 million votes. So it will actually be 10 million votes, 800,000. So if you accommodate mortality rates in terms of what will happen there, you are guaranteed victory still. But if we are barren, if we do not reproduce ourselves, if we do not go back to the voters whom we had convinced to vote for the EFF, to turn them into activists, to reproduce themselves as well, we are not going to go anywhere. And that, in most instances, is due to laziness. Now, the other components, comrades, that we speak to in terms of what must be combated, and the document makes an acknowledgement that this comes from the Marx Engels Lenin Institute, which was utilized to build capacity to all the revolutionary parties and forces under the Communist Party leadership of the USSR. It says we must combat sectarianism. Sectarianism refers to the trend defined by complete refusal to conduct dialogue with other groups or work with them on small projects. So you know, when you are a sectarian organization, you say that we are pure ideological, we do not want to engage with anyone. You are a sect. And majority of the times, sects are just small organizations that refuse to look at the broader vision. So the EFF is not a sect. We are a mass organization that must combat sectarianism, That no, we do not know, as fighters, we do not do this, we do not go to church, we combat sectarianism. That is what we then deal with them. But also we must combat academicism. Now, the reality is that Marxism, Leninism in the global context has largely been hijacked by desktop revolutionaries. So the international Marxist tendency, the group that calls themselves in defense of Marxism, they are never mass in character, but they claim to be the owners of Marxism, Leninism. They just interpret from desktops. They write about all of us, like they write about the EFF and say, no, the EFF is not purely socialists. Maybe it must be doing this and that. Like the academics have hijacked Marxism, Leninism. So we are rescuing Marxism, Leninism from desktops and taking it to the ground. We are rescuing these ideological tools of analysis and guide to action and make that to be mass character, because that is what these are meant to achieve in terms of all of these issues. But also we must combat conspiracism, where we think that the struggle is about creating conspiracies and fictional things in your head. That no, we do this and that, we are fine. It explains itself there in terms of what happens. Now the second section, for how long should I speak? The second section, comrades, that deal with redesign, deals with a variety of proposals. One of the proposals that is there, which we are going to present when we're coming back, and there is agreement amongst all provincial chairpersons and secretaries on behalf of the provinces that we come from, that the central command team must be increased from additional members from 35 to 40 members. And the third conference will consider other proposals in terms of further expansion. And then it then speaks to what are the offices that must be full-time in the organization. That the SGO, both Secretary General and Deputy Secretary General, must be non-negotiable full-time at the head office. That the Treasurer General must be full-time unless decided otherwise by the organization. There's a variety of other components that are contained there. That political education must be full-time. That international relations must be full-time. That the composition of the War Council should be increased from this number to that number to 17 out or to 18 out of the current 15, 6 plus 9 provincial deployees, conveners, and then the full-time commissars who are working at the head office. And then there's an issue of, do we establish sub-regions as constitutional structures? Or we leave regions and then sub-regions becomes coordinating structures, which are appointed, and what becomes that? The document deals with that. You will discuss it in your commissions. But also there is an issue of, should we demarcate our branches alongside VDs or alongside wards? Ward-based or VD-based branches, it's a discussion. It might not be resolved in this People's Assembly. Let us go and discuss. And our lived experiences will make us, of course, give our own examples in terms of what is an ideal branch. Should it exist at a VD level or at a ward level? And all of those things. Or do we retain the organization as is, perfect it, and then we postpone some of these issues that are being proposed to the Third National People's Assembly? Perfect the membership system and make sure that the organization does work as it is supposed to do. Now, all of us, comrades, must go and engage with these issues. I can see that majority of us, so Fighter Shisana from Komazi says that comrades and fighters are outside, refusing to listen to what we're discussing here. And if you can't listen to what we're discussing here, it means that the reading will be very difficult for you. Let's read and familiarize ourselves with all these proposals. And then we go into commissions to make cogent submissions. Now, in commissions, we'll speak to that when we outline commissions later. In commissions, you are a leader. All of you are leaders here. You don't just stand up and complain and ask questions. You must say, my name is Fighter Floyd Shibambu from Ward 44, Johannesburg. I think the challenge of branches must be resolved like this. I propose that we must resolve in this way. Not to say that, no, in my ward there we do not have membership cards there. There's a big problem, don't have membership cards. We know that there are branches that don't have membership cards. Tell us what must be done. What is to be done? Let us make solution-based interventions, because those that sent us here, they've sent us here to come and develop solutions so that we can build an organization that lives forever, so that we can build an organization that consolidates the ground towards socialist power. Amanda! Away, 2. Fighters are going to take a break now for lunch, and then we'll come back at 2:30 exactly to outline the process.